Hello and welcome to today's panel discussion, Intro to Engineering Careers. I am Monica Harrison, the moderator of today's event. Before we get started with our speakers, I want to take a few moments to tell you about SWE Next. SWE Next is a K-12 STEM outreach program that is a part of the Society of Women Engineers. And the CTE, CWISE, and Golden Gate section of SWE are partnering to bring SWE Next clubs and programming to Sonoma County. The SWE Next clubs are focus on empowering students, providing programming, expanding the image of engineering, demonstrating the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and providing programming for both students and families and educators in this space. Some of the activities that come out of local SWE Next clubs include additional STEM outreach, professional mentorship with engineers and leaders like the women on today's panel, and skill building, both in leadership and technical skill building. So we're really excited to announce this new partnership, and you can find out more by following the QR codes on your screen, shown on your screen, or following on social media at SWE Next or at Golden Gate, SWE.GoldenGate. And also staying tuned to the CTE CWISE channel programming is another good way to stay informed about these activities. So on today's panel, which is titled Introduction to Engineering Careers, again, my name is Monica Harrison and my personal pronouns are she, her, and I'm an R&D engineer at Keysight Technologies. I have a bachelor's degree from San Francisco State University in electrical engineering, and I've been working in industry for about 15 years. I'm your current SWE Golden Gate section president and also chair-elect of the membership committee at the society level. I have 2 teenage children in high school right now, 1 senior and 1 freshman, and I'm really passionate about STEM education and promoting STEM careers. It's a path to a better life and opens up so many opportunities. Joining us today on the panel, we also have Cio Linares, who is an R&D program manager for the Quantum Engineering Solutions team at Keysight Technologies, and also uses the personal pronouns she, her. She holds a PhD from the University of California, Berkeley, as well as a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and material science. We also have on the call today, Caitlyn Lichty, who works for Corteva Agriscience as a production engineer, and she graduated from the University of Minnesota and holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineer. Caitlyn is also a leader on the Golden Gate section of SWE and is currently our treasurer. We also have on the call today, Vandana Wild, who is a marketing engineer at Keysight Technology, and she holds a bachelor's degree in electrical and computer science from Colorado University in Boulder. And she enjoys cooking, hiking, and spending time with her golden retriever, and is also very passionate about STEM outreach. And lastly, we have Paulina Nguyen, who joins us from Medtronic. She's an R&D engineer at Medtronic. She is also a leader on the SWE Golden Gate section and is this year's communications chair. So at this time, we're going to start with our first prompt question, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we'll begin our discussion. The first prompt question that we'd like to ask our panelists, and we're going to go to Cio Linares first, is what made you choose engineering? Was there a specific reason, a spark, and what did you study in school? And tell us more about what you do now.
So my name is Cio Linares. Thank you, Monica, for introducing us. Particularly for this question, I am an immigrant and I was an English second learner. English was not my favorite subject in school when I was in the US. Actually, Spanish was not my favorite subject either when I was in Venezuela. But the one thing when I transitioned to the US that stayed constant, the language changed, but the math and the science stayed constant. Those concepts were comforting for me because when things do change, and there's so much change going on even right now, those small things that stay constant can be quite comforting at times. So that was very comforting for me, and I focused on those. And at school, my teacher said, well, you're doing so well with this, we should give you more work. And I focused even more on those, and I grew in math and science, until one day my teacher said, well, you're so good at it, why don't you apply to a program that harnesses that knowledge that you have and do something with it. And I realized, well, I'm really good with my hands. I can definitely build wooden shelves, and I like to tinker with cars, and I like to fix things. So applying the math and the science to creating something and building something new was definitely something that I wanted to explore. So the chemistry, the physics, the math that I learned in high school was key to letting me know that I needed to focus next on something that applied that, and that was engineering for me. When I went into Cal, I knew that I wasn't quite sure which engineering, because at 18, no one really knows what they want to do when they grow up. So I explored the different classes and the different roles in engineering. I also explored all the sciences, and then realized that it was a really hard decision. So instead of deciding for one, I ended up picking two. So I picked mechanical engineering and I picked material science, it was more work, but at the end, I was very passionate about what I was learning, and I knew that I could take anything, and with that knowledge, build anything from start to end. That's why I picked engineering.
What a great testimony, CO. Thank you. I just want to remind our audience that they can go ahead and please post questions while our speakers are answering the prompts. Post your questions in the chat function in YouTube or the Q&A function in Zoom. We're going to go ahead and move next to Paulina Wen. Same question, Paulina. Why did you choose engineering? What did you study in school, and what do you do now?
Yeah, so I studied engineering because growing up, my dad was an engineer, and it really influenced me to pursue math and science. I really enjoyed it when I was in school growing up. And so that's kind of how I found out about engineering. And he was also an R&D engineer, so that's kind of come full circle in our family now. But when my parents got divorced, I ended up living with my mom growing up for middle school through high school. And I kind of became the handy woman in the house. I ended up fixing a lot of stuff for my mom. And so that also kind of encouraged me to pursue that path of like having the curiosity to fix things when they're broken, and, doing some more deeper problem solving. And then growing up, I also really enjoyed playing with Legos and just doing all those science kits that you can find. So that was kind of what sparked my interest and what influenced me growing up. And I studied biomedical engineering in college. I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I actually just graduated in June. So in July is when I joined Medtronic. So I'm a pretty young engineer, but now I work in R&D, and I work in the coronary and renal denervation business, which is kind of a new and upcoming technology here that we have at Medtronic.
Thank you, Paulina. And next, we have Caitlyn Lichty. Same question, Caitlyn.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. So I grew up in really, really rural Minnesota, and I went to a elementary and high school where STEM really wasn't a thing. We didn't have funding for that. No one really went to college and studied that. It was kind of just this unknown. So when I was in middle school and high school, and I was really good at math and science, I was kind of my teachers and my parents' worst nightmare, because I kept asking why, then they couldn't answer my questions. I would take things apart in the house. So unlike Paulina, who was fixing things, I was actually taking things apart, and I had no idea how to put them back together. But I loved exploring and figuring out what went into things, even if I didn't know how to, repair it at the end. So when I was in high school, I was taking some advanced calculus classes, and I was trying to sort of explore, like, what do I want to do in college? Like, I know I want to go, but do I want to teach? Do I want to do engineering? Maybe go to vet school? And I actually had a teacher who I really looked up to tell me, you don't have the personality to be an engineer. And that lit my internal fire immediately. And I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong because I think I can be a really good engineer. So that sparked me to go to the University of Minnesota to study mechanical engineering. Absolutely loved my time there and ended up choosing mechanical engineering because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And mechanical engineering is by far the broadest of the engineers. There's just so much that goes into it. There's a little bit of material science, electrical, computer science, all of it rolled into one. So when I graduated with mechanical engineering, I again had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was recruited by a company, what was DuPont Pioneer at the time, and started my first job in Iowa working at a seed production facility, which for people out in California, soybeans and corn are the main crop in the Midwest. And I had no idea what that entailed as far as how do I grow a soybean, how do I grow corn? Like that makes really no sense. Ended up falling in love with agriculture through that job, spent 2 years there, and now just over a year ago, I moved to California, and I'm now working for Corteva Agriscience on our chemical business. So I now help produce chemicals for the agriculture industry that allow farmers to grow really high quality crops so that people all across the world can continue to be fed, which is absolutely amazing that engineering can impact people all across the world. And I absolutely love that.
Thank you so much, Caitlyn. I think that should really resonate with our audience here in Sonoma County because there's a long history of agriculture here in this community. Vandana, you're the last one to answer this prompt. Tell us your story.
Sounds good. Hey, everyone. Thanks, Monica, for the introduction. So, my story, let's start with high school. I was really involved in lots of different things. I was taking AP classes. I was in band. I was in cross country. I really enjoyed math and science. So I ended up going to University of Colorado at Boulder, and I got accepted to the engineering school. And it was in engineering school that really shaped, why I chose engineering and why I love it and why I still love it and why I love what I do. So what I think is so cool about engineering, which is what I learned starting in my freshman projects class in college, it was the amazing balance of, having a strong foundation in math and science, but also being able to apply it to all sorts of different applications that you're interested in. It could be biotechnology, it could be cellular communications, it could be building prosthetic devices for people, and being able to collaborate with all sorts of people from all over the world, different time zones, different passions, different mindsets. And I just think it's an amazing way to be able to connect the world. And so, I had a very inspirational mentor in college. She walked me through it. And now I'm at Keysight doing high-speed digital simulation product marketing, which enables me to continuously learn, keep up with the latest technologies, and be able to apply, my, people skills and get to communicate and share ideas with people all over the world.
Great. Thank you so much, Vandana. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of questions from our audience. One of them I'm going to direct to Sio. What is material science?
So material science is the study of how metals, ceramics, plastics, how all those atoms inside those materials bond with each other to form a material that can either be conductive, non-conductive, or it can insulate. So in plain terms, it's just the study of how to make a very cool material that can do everything for you, from electrically conduct to provide you the heat that you need in a way that is effective and efficient. It's a bunch of people that are interested in learning how to tweak a material to meet a certain need. That's what it is.
And then for this next question, I'm just going to ask for a raise of hands. How many of you were the first in your family to graduate from college? If you could just raise your hand. So there's 3 of us who were the first in our families to graduate from college. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next set of questions. What about SWE, the Society of Women Engineers, and STEM outreach? Are they important to you and why? And we're going to go ahead and start with Caitlyn.
Yeah, so I love this question. So from a SWE standpoint, I got involved with SWE pretty much when I stepped onto campus at the University of Minnesota. And without SWE, I probably wouldn't have made it through engineering. I had so much self-doubt when I was in college. I hit challenges, and SWE was that support network that I had other women who are in engineering who could help me see that, oh, hey, we're facing those challenges too. Like, come work with us. Like, we'll help each other through it. And now that I'm a professional, I have put so much energy into SWE to try to give back what they gave to me when I was in college, and to give that to other professionals or collegiates, or even high schoolers who are doubting themselves that they can go into engineering. And from the STEM outreach side, I also lead the outreach committee for the Society of Women Engineers at the society level. And the main reason I absolutely love doing that is because when I mentioned that my high school didn't really have STEM, that I was actually discouraged from going into STEM, I want to make sure that never happens to anyone else if I can help it. So if that means me going into a high school and talking about my career path and showing people that, hey, you can be the first person in your high school to go to college for engineering, or first in your family, that's totally okay. It doesn't mean that you can't do it just because no one else has before you. And being that role model, even if I can change one person's mind about their ability to study STEM, that would make all the world of difference to me. And that's why STEM outreach is so important to me. It allows me to impact so many more lives than just through my work, but in my community as well, to make sure that we have all the bright minds who want to study STEM, and that there's nothing holding them back from doing so, because there's plenty of problems in the world. And we need more people who are in science, technology, engineering, and math in order to solve those problems and make the world a better place.
Amazing. I mean, what more can we add? I'm not sure, but we're going to give it a try. Vandana, tell us about what SWE has been to you, and why, and how is STEM outreach important to you, or was it important to you to give back?
Well, Caitlyn, you summed that up very well. So second everything she said. But, you know, honestly, though, SWE and STEM is so important to me. And as I said, answering the previous question, it was these impactful mentors that have led me to where I am today. And so I would like to be able to give back to the community and be able to provide that same mentorship to someone that is, you know, interested in math and science, interested in engineering technology, because as Caitlyn said, we definitely need more people out there to solve problems. And if there's anything I can do to help, you know, resolve any doubt or fear in entering this, you know, highly competitive, highly, you know, fast-paced technology world, you know, I'm happy to help. So really, you know, SWE is so important because I have such a strong network of people here to support me when, you know, I have questions about my career, questions about, you know, different things at work. And STEM outreach is an amazing way to give back. And also remember where I came from, because, you know, back in high school and the early years of college, I was also, you know, doing these cool boot camps, you know, hosted by various companies. And it was an amazing experience finally getting my hands, you know, dirty working on, you know, an engineering project. So, yes.
That's great. Thank you. We're gonna let's hear from who's next. Paulina, I think you're next. Tell us about your experience with SWE and STEM outreach and why it's important to you.
Yeah, so SWE really holds a special place in my heart. It was the first organization that I joined when I came to college. And actually, SWE at Cal Poly hosted an event for high schoolers before I came. So I actually got to go and see a panel there when I was touring colleges. And that's kind of really what made me choose Cal Poly and really enforced that choosing engineering was the right thing for me. And then once I got to college, SWE really allowed me to shine on campus and take on leadership roles that I don't think I would have had the opportunity to be a part of if I didn't join SWE. And then STEM outreach is really important to me because, I mean, I came from a really great place of privilege growing up, having my dad as an engineer and as a role model to encourage me to pursue STEM, but I know that, that's not the case for everyone. And that was also the case for a lot of students kind of around me when I was growing up too. So it's really important for me to just kind of help expose students to that and encourage them to know that they can apply their curiosity and their passion around solving problems and finding answers. And like my manager said, and engineering shouldn't be a mystery or exclusive to a chosen few. I think everyone should have this opportunity. So that's why it's so important to me to spread the STEM outreach.
Great message. Thank you. CEO, want to tell us about your experiences?
Yeah, so I think, Caitlyn, Vandana, and Paulina have definitely targeted many different perspectives. So I'll talk about a very different one. I'll talk about the receiving end, right? As an engineer that is in my career, and I'm more advanced than high school. I already passed college, and I'm already applying my knowledge. There's obviously a lot that we can do to help those that are not there yet. But remembering as a high schooler and as a student, I didn't know about SWE at first. I learned about SWE when I was applying for colleges, and I was trying to figure out how to come up with the money to pay for a really expensive tuition. And somebody said, well, if you're going to go into engineering, you should probably look into the Society of Women Engineers, because you will be one. So I thought, okay, well, that's great. And when I did look it up, there was a scholarship. So I applied for it. I got the scholarship, which was great. Free money is fantastic, especially when you don't have the money to go to college. So for me, that was my introduction to SWE. And they opened up the opportunity for me to go to college, which I'm really thankful for. When I got to college, I learned that it wasn't just about scholarships. The whole society also is there to help you grow as in science and technology, and not just in terms of providing programs to educate you, but also to provide you the mentorship that you need to see what you could be in this field, because it's very difficult for someone that doesn't know or doesn't have a vision of what they could be. If you don't have a role model at home that is within those science and engineering fields, it's very difficult to even start thinking about what you want to be when you grow up if you just don't know about it. So having those key people in SWE really helped me shape my view of who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go within this career. So that was really key for me. And as now older, I very much appreciate that as an organization, SWE strives to diversify the field, because our field has been notoriously male and white over many years. And so I really appreciate the effort to try to diversify the field, and as well as to decrease the gap that exists in terms of pay gap, in terms of discrepancies and disparity. There's so much disparity within our field, within the world, and I appreciate that SWE is striving to decrease that disparity that we see.
Agree 100%. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and combine a couple of the questions from our audience with our next question. And I know that one of our panelists will be dropping off. So we're gonna try to give everybody a chance to speak here. So the next question was, what types of technical jobs are available locally at your company, and what amount of education is required? And the two questions that we had from our audience were, in what context would you say a PhD is more helpful than a master's degree? And then another question was, what kind of high school education is necessary to study biomedical engineering? So if you could give us an answer that kind of addresses what type of jobs might be accessible with different levels of education at your different companies, and your recommended path to pursue those things. And let's see, who are we going to start out with? I think we're going to start out with Paulina. You're up first.
Yeah, so Medtronic employs over 9,000 engineers and scientists all across the globe. And we primarily hire biomedical, mechanical, electrical, and computer science and software engineers for the engineer type roles. And a bachelor's degree is required for most of these jobs. However, we also do have technician roles, which only require a high school diploma or a GED, something equivalent to that, and then maybe some experience in the industry. So depending on your level of education, there are a lot of different kind of job opportunities there. And then to answer the question about what kind of high school experience is required for biomedical engineering, since I studied that, I really prepared by trying to take calculus courses while I was in high school. So I was able to take calculus AB and then BC, which helped me skip a few courses when I started college, but that definitely isn't necessary. I would just say definitely have a strong math background in algebra or pre-calculus if that's what you're able to do. And then also getting involved with science classes. So when I was in high school, I took AP Chem, I took bio, and then I would also recommend taking physiology if you have the opportunity to. I didn't do it when I was in high school, but that's something that you take as a biomedical engineering student. And then physics is also really important, no matter what engineering discipline you follow.
Great, thank you for that. We're going to hear from Caitlyn now.
Yeah, so similar to Paulina, my company hires chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, pretty much any engineering discipline. Most of our engineers are bachelor's only. They might go and do a master's while they're already working for Corteva to sort of increase their knowledge. And then we also have electricians, mechanics who work at our manufacturing sites. They typically have a 2-year technical degree from a community college, or they might just have high school education with like an apprenticeship or something like that. And then on the master's and PhD side, we have plenty of people in our company who go on later to get their master's, but those who want a PhD are typically slated into research at my company. So doing research either on entomology, so study of bugs, soil science, seed science. We have a site up in Woodland, California that works on corn hybrids and looking at the genetics of corn. Most of them have PhDs. But again, some of them started off with just a 4-year degree and had their education paid for by Corteva to get to the PhD level to be a research scientist for us. So I think there's a variety of educational levels that you can really have a technical career in. It's all what you're interested in. I did want to touch on the high school education required to not necessarily biomedical engineering, but to go into engineering. Because I went to such a small high school, I had absolutely no technical experience going into college, which terrified me at first, but it's not required. If you're willing to put the work in your freshman year to sort of catch up to those who maybe did robotics or a different science club at their high school, you can totally still be successful as an engineer. And honestly, you'll bring a really unique perspective compared to some of your other classmates. So it's a great thing to have as well.
Gosh, you warmed my heart with that one, Caitlyn, because similarly, I didn't have much background from my high school, and I actually ended up going to a JC and then transferring to a 4-year university before graduating with my engineering degree. So you're absolutely right. It can vary quite a bit. Let's go ahead and hear from CEO and then maybe Vadnana, if you're still on the call. Tell us a little bit about the jobs that are available for Keysight and the different levels of education that might be required.
So Keysight is a very large company, and we are based in Santa Rosa, but we hire all sorts of majors. We hire math majors to do finance. You know, people with math majors can very well do finance. So we hire math majors, we hire business majors, we hire people that have done human resources kind of majors. We hire people that have done English majors and that want to do communications to others within the company. We hire engineers, of course, because we create and we design devices, test and measurement equipment And so we do need those engineers, but we also hire a broad range of engineers. We hire chemical engineers to do plating. We hire material scientists to figure out the processes of our manufacturing facilities. We hired mechanical engineers because we need designers for or products. We hire electrical engineers because they also do all of that. Because we have our own manufacturing facility, we hire technicians that come out of the Santa Rosa JC. There's a special program there that Keysight has tried to create over the years with partnerships from with other corporations in the Santa Rosa area. And so we train our technicians to have a specific skill set, and then we hire them into manufacturing. So we have jobs for those kind of technicians. You don't need to go to college for that. You just need to go finish high school and then go to the JC, enroll in those programs, and then you're good to go. But if you want to know more about engineering, you can definitely go into a junior college and then transfer, if you like, to a four-year institution, and then become an engineer. And any role in engineering, you're welcome to come to Keysight. The only thing that we ask is that you're passionate about what the role that you're taking, because the passion is what is going to drive you to really create something that is special and that we're ultimately going to deliver to our customers. So you can go from having a high school degree to having a college degree to having a master's degree, and master's degrees can be very focused into either technical roles or they can go into management also. We have PhDs. I have a PhD and I happen to be a manager in the quantum engineering team. So you can really do a lot with the different range. And again, the sky is the limit. It just depends on what you want to do with it.
Thank you so much. We do have one more question from the audience. We heard from Caitlyn that Corteva invests quite a bit in its employees and their education to potentially pursue higher level degrees. The question from the audience was around whether or not Medtronic and Keysight offers similar programs. Can you speak to those, Paulina and Theo?
Paulina, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I do know that Medtronic does sponsor advanced education if you choose to pursue it. You do have to make a case, though, that it benefits the company and advances you in your role. I haven't looked too much into it just because I recently joined, but it's definitely something that I'm thinking about, and the option is there.
So at Keysight, the development of our employees is a key piece of what we believe in. It's part of our success, and is very much ingrained into our culture. So we have programs where we do that, where we do pay for somebody's education so that they can get a degree and ultimately advance and do something else. Right now in my team, we are paying for somebody's PhD to go and get a PhD in quantum. He was interested in that, so we're sponsoring that. I know that we're also sponsoring master degrees for somebody in Stanford for electrical engineering, and we do that all the time. So that is part of our core.
Great. Well, I think that's just about time for us today. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be on this panel and to provide some insight into your experiences. It's been a real pleasure to get to know all of you more. And for our audience, thank you for joining us. You can find out more at the CTE website. Look for more programming from this collaboration between the Golden Gate Section Society of Women Engineers and the CTE Foundation and the CWISE Foundation. We also want to give a plug to another one of the CWISE programs. The STEM Hub app and the stemhub.org is a great place to look to connect with more mentors and more opportunities in Sonoma County. Thank you all very much. And